You can find more episodes of Your Thoughts Podcast at yourthoughts.com. We are on Spotify, Apple. Support our Patreon. You can support all sorts of different content through Aggregate Perspective. I do music, the podcast, all different kinds of art. So support the Patreon. That will directly support the podcast. Editing costs cost a lot, so please help out. Like us on Facebook, on Twitter, Your Thoughts Pod. I have an Instagram. It's iPods Are Gross. I don't post as much there, but I do occasionally post podcast-related content there. Thank you for watching.
Okay, so obviously, like all things, there's a spectrum. So let's get a little bit closer and narrowing down with, since you're the guest here, you guys are the guests here, what do you define, what is the take that you take when it comes to anarchy, anarchism? Like, where is your stance on it, given that you've just laid out that there's several different blends?
Yeah. So for me, anarchy as a whole, if you consider yourself an anarchist, you kind of hold these values regardless of where you sit on the spectrum. Generally speaking, you want minimal intrusion from other people, and you want other people as well as yourself to be able to be free to do what it is that you please within reason. You always understand that even the furthest right libertarian is gonna understand that harming other people is still inherently wrong, and agreeing on that is pretty much the basis of anarchy, is not allowing other people to harm others just because they can. That's how pretty much every anarchist looks at a government. They're harming people because they can, because they have the power, or because they want to change and influence them in a certain way.
Okay.
So where is the distinction between American libertarianism, because libertarianism globally is different, American libertarianism and anarchism as a philosophy, I guess?
Whoa, hold up. Did you just say outside of America? What is this bullshit?
Oh, right. They don't exist.
Yeah,
not in politics.
What are you talking about? Outside of America. Get out of here with this.
We will have international listeners. So
It's interesting actually that you ask about that, because libertarianism, as we know it now, back from the 70s, took a lot of its philosophy from anarchism, and anarchism has been a philosophy that's been around for centuries at this point. It's been talked about before that, but I believe, I can't quote me here, but I believe it was the 1800s that it was really first coined as a term. I'm sorry. Man, I just lost my train of thought.
That's all good.
It happens every podcast.
So some of what I was seeing, just like I was trying to do my best to like really understand anarchism as a philosophy. So doing the historical research from where it came from, where it deviated from like Marxism and like French Revolution philosophy into like where it is today.
Yeah, versus like libertarianism in America. Yeah, okay, thank you, I appreciate that. So like libertarianism took a lot of the individual liberties that anarchism talks about, and unfortunately it kind of forgot a little bit about the societal stuff, which everybody kind of picks and chooses where they find their...
There's so much.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so some people focus on some things, some people focus on others, but as a general rule, anarchism as a whole is, and to use a term that is demonized, it's more radical than libertarianism. Anarchism takes libertarianism to its final conclusion of, if you want all of your freedoms all of the time,
then it requires
this
action.
is what you need to do. Right. Yeah. Your rights, to an anarchist, your rights have responsibilities. I'm not saying that all libertarians don't think that or what have you, but as a general rule, that just tends to be the big change between the two. So you'll have libertarians who are more focused on, like I said, personal freedoms, while anarchists are more focused on, in general, more focused on freedoms for everyone, even at the individual level. So that means that you do tend to have to be more responsible for yourself and for others.
Okay. So, like, going back to like the the conception of anarchism and everything like that. I'm going to be the layperson here today. I went in completely blind, and all I know is the personal stereotypes of anarchism. So I'm sure we're going to dissolve some of those here today as well. But
Yeah,
I'd like to start off in the beginning, because you said, probably around the 1800s is really like when it started becoming a coined term and everything like that. Do we know the original?
I think it was before that.
It may have been, yeah. Like I said, don't quote me on that for sure.
Okay. So regardless of timeline, then, do we know where kind of like the beginnings of that philosophy come from, where they stem from? Did it come like people wanting to get out of feudalism and they wanted their own personal freedoms?
There is a pretty deep historical record of the quoting of the term, the coining of the term, and then like how the philosophy with action has evolved over time. So it was like Russia and like Eastern European, I guess feudal era.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, it stemmed more out of the want for freedom as well. So yeah, it stemmed from just in general, and it propagated in multiple locations, much like like democracy, like multiple forms of governments. They find their own ways, and that's kind of how you get the spectrum of it, right? Is because then you find people that, like I said, are more focused on individual liberties, or more focused on societal ones, or more focused on unionizing or things like that. And then that's how you get, especially like Marxism. Marxism is huge on the workers unionizing and really getting their power that way.
Right.
She agrees.
Yeah, enthusiastically.
Unions for the win.